only one or the other, but you're referring to both of them, right? So together, you can just call them the arts. Arts. Arts can lead to. lead to 뭐뭐로 이렇게 형성되기도 하고 lead to. Now this is kind of a play on words. A breakthrough. A breakthrough. 뭔가 형성되기도 한다 이런 뜻은 아닌데요. It means like 돌파구를 찾다. It's kind of something that you've been waiting and working for, a breakthrough, or something that's falling apart. 망가진다, something that's falling apart. But I want to play on words here, so I'm going to say, or break apart. Break apart. Now, that's the end of the sentence. Now, there's numerous ways you can play on this, but this is what I have so far. Depending on experience, arts can lead to a breakthrough or break apart. Now, note that breakthrough and break apart, it used the same word break, right? But breakthrough was one word, as opposed to break apart had a space in between. That's because breakthrough is a word on its own, but break apart isn't. It's actually two separate words, and you're using it to help each other out in that context. And of course, I have multiple other ways of translating the sentence. So let's take a look at what it said in Korean first. 예술은 경험에 따라 형성되기도 하고 망가지기도 하는 것 같다. And here's my other recommendation. The arts are heavily dependent on experiences. Now again, I refer to as the arts in plural because you're referring to performing and visual, not one or the other. You're talking about in general, the arts, right, are heavily dependent. Now here, heavily doesn't mean so much 무겁다, but it just means that significantly, in that amount, so dependent. 그 정도로 arts는 경험에 의지한다, 의존한다 이런 뜻이에요. So one more time, the arts are heavily dependent on experiences. And of course, continuing on, accordingly, it sometimes develops into greater means, but other times falls apart. Accordingly, 그런 이유로, because you're continuing on from the other sentence, right? You need a link to put the two clauses or the two sentences together. Accordingly, it sometimes develops into greater means. 어쩔 때는 it sometimes develops into greater means. 더 큰, 더 좋은. Here, greater doesn't mean just bigger. It means better too, in quality. It sometimes develops into greater means, but other times, 하지만 다른 때는 it falls apart. 뭔가 무너지기도 합니다. 이런 뜻이죠. So altogether, it says one more time, accordingly, it sometimes develops into greater means, but other times falls apart. Now, these sentences are obviously something that you should use as kind of a data, collect it all together, and form your own sentences, come up with more creative ways to express yourself. Oh my gosh, look at me stuttering. But anyways, it's so that you can take it all together and have more information to come up with your own witty sentences. So keep on coming with these wonderful comments, and we are ready to move on to our final segment of the day, Celebrity Tweet. Here we are at our final segment for the day. Of course, it's my favorite, Celebrity Tweet. This is where we take a look at some of the very famous artists, politicians, just all kinds of people that are on TV, public figures, etc., etc. The list really goes on. We take a look at celebrity tweets and we see how we could respond to it. We, kind of butcher up what they're trying to say and, just kind of go over in a conversation. All right, so today's celebrity, are you ready, is the one and only, the 14th, His Holiness Dalai Lama. And he had to say, in general, I think that anger is a sign of weakness and tolerance a sign of strength. One more time. In general, I think that anger is a sign of weakness and tolerance a sign of strength. Now, what do you think that could possibly mean? Now, in Korean, it could translate to something as 일반적으로 분노는 나약함의 표시, 그리고 내성은 용기 또 힘의 표시라고 생각합니다. 이런 뜻이에요. Now, it's obviously his perspective and moreover his philosophy. And you could agree or disagree. And that's really what's the beauty about this Twitter or this tweet more specifically. You can take whatever stance and it's really just in the good old fun. And actually, I more or less really agree with this because I think humility, right? Humility is very, very, very underrated. But Dalai Lama himself, had to say this, and I have a lot of respect for that. And I highly regard humility, and I think the key point in this entire tweet is the witnessing, the promotion of the concept of humility. Now, it's funny because humility itself sounds like humiliation and it has kind of this negative connotation to it, but really, essentially, humility has something more to do with being humble, tolerating the worst, having a tolerance for some of the worst things in life. And here, that is what Dalai Lama is saying. In general, I think that anger is a sign of weakness and tolerance a sign of strength. So let's take a look at what you've tweeted. 저도 그렇게 생각합니다. 하지만 하루하루 살다 보면 나약해지는 것은 왜일까요? And you wrote, I think so, but why do I becoming weakness day by day? Okie dokie. So I like how you started. I think so. But, oops, let me change the pen color so you can see better. I think